It's Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Corey and Mason.
Hello, and thanks for sitting down with us. This is our 5th episode of Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast, and I am one of your hosts, Mason Schmidt, here with my good friend, Corey Knudsen.
Heyo.
As we get ready to talk about all things movies, we are a couple of Minnesota boys who love movies a little too much. Tonight, as usual, we'll discuss various film topics, including what films we've seen lately, what movies are on the horizon, a little update on some physical media releases, and some current developments in the world of movies. But first, Corey, how have you been? And second, what are you drinking on the opposite end of the desk?
First of all, happy late Thanksgiving to everybody. We had a good little Thanksgiving week. We had Blackout Wednesday, which is always a great time. Go out with some high school friends and
go to a local bar and have a mini sad high school reunion while everyone's getting shit-faced.
Have like $3 beers, not paying.
The best thing about small town beer or small town bars is that you can get a cheap beer as opposed. Like we went up and got 4 beers and it was less than $20. Whereas if we're in the cities, it's like probably pushing $32, $35. It's like I miss it here.
Yeah. So that was fun, and then both of our families kind of got together for a little Thanksgiving celebration, which is a great time. Just watching football, drinking a little bit, and then just a little Black Friday shopping. Got a couple movies, which I'll talk about later, but so nice to have a little break just from work, honestly, just to hang out with family and all that stuff.
Just chill.
But as far as what we are drinking today, from Bent Paddle Brewing out of Duluth, Minnesota, we've got Venture Pills, which is got some on my computer.
Splashback on the computer. That's
Christ. Wow, it's foaming
this
everywhere.
Is Christ with
I
G.
am going to grab some paper towels. I'm going to reach, hopefully my headphones don't come out. Sick.
Yeah, it is everywhere.
Yep.
I'm not a big Pilsner fan. I cracked mine open a little bit before we started recording here and got to take a couple of sips. It's going to have to grow on me. I do love Bent Paddle. They have a large selection that I'm a big fan of. They have a light beer. It's a lime light beer, and it's insane. I had a couple of those this past weekend here. But yeah, happy to have Bent Paddle again. We have just made kind of a circle of Duluth-based brewers on our past couple episodes here. So Duluth, obviously a big favorite town in Minnesota for both Corey and I. But anyways, with that out of the way and getting the beers in our belly, let's talk about what we've seen lately. I want to start off with a couple of the Thanksgiving movies that are kind of the more regular viewing for this holiday season. Starting off with the film I love, and you and I both saw it together actually in theaters last year. Weren't, I think, too excited for, just had little to no expectations, I think, just kind of hoping for a fun little slasher film. But my holiday Thanksgiving rewatch is Eli Roth's Thanksgiving from 2023. Like I said, a film with little to no expectations going in, but I was pleasantly surprised by it. It is kind of that ode to classic slasher films, and it kind of gives you a cool little new iconic horror slasher. I hope that they were able to continue on with this franchise and try and find ways to reinvigorate and refresh the slasher franchise. But yeah, my Thanksgiving film of choice is Thanksgiving. I like to see people die in some holiday-themed gruesome ways. But this, a little sad to say that when it's like such a family-based holiday. But the film, I think the film has a good tongue in cheek with it, and it doesn't take anything too seriously. The gore is it's fun, but also it's pushing the envelope in a way that makes it not so believable and not so sadistically like upsetting. It's a fun watch. And I'm happy to watch it this Thanksgiving and hopefully Thanksgivings to come. Corey, what did you watch?
Yeah, I also do really like Thanksgiving too. I remember being surprised by that movie. There's fun kills. I remember just being thrown off by like the first 20-25 minutes of that movie when it was like the Black Friday shopping part.
Yeah,
I was like, what is this movie?
It's a little over the top too, the acting in those scenes.
Yeah, but then it gets into it and I really enjoy it. And then the movie that I try and watch every year is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is really one of the few Thanksgiving movies. There's really not that many.
One of the best and best
not even just
films.
best Thanksgiving movies, just one of the best movies, I think. Steve Martin and John Candy, their chemistry together is so good. And there's so many funny moments in the movie. One of my favorite scenes is when they're driving and Steve Martin falls asleep and John Candy's coat just gets caught and he's just driving with no arms.
He's trying to slink his arms out of the sleeves of the jacket as he's like pinched into the car.
As the cigarette is just burning in the back. It's like so many scenes like that. But it's also so heartfelt too. The scene, I believe it's in the hotel room when John Candy's like, "I like me."
Yeah.
It's like I like who I am. That's one of my favorite scenes in that movie, and it's a great blend of that kind of family holiday spirit and heartwarming, while also just being super funny and entertaining.
Yeah.
Strikes a really good balance.
I think its ability to properly handle that balance between comedy while also having some of those more like emotional and sincere moments is why it kind of stands the test of time as a comedy classic. I remember, and this is a little bit of a kind of venture off point, but one of my favorite memories of becoming Corey's friend was in, I think it was seventh grade, when we did like a decades project in history class, and you weren't in my group. One of the few group projects we didn't work on together, and I was presenting on the 80s, so I brought up Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and I said John Candy and Paul Martin as opposed to Steve Martin. And you were sitting in the front row, and you're correcting me, like, Steve Martin. And I was like, thank you, yes, Steve Martin. And I was like, yeah, this dude's the man.
Miss Burtness's class.
Yeah, Miss Burtness's class. Oh, yeah. But Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Thanksgiving, both great Thanksgiving holiday watches. If you haven't seen any of them or either of those two films, I would heavily recommend both. Maybe check out Planes, Trains, and Automobiles first, because that is more your prototypical Thanksgiving family, heartwarming, fun time. If you're a little bit of a freak like me, maybe check out Thanksgiving and have a little bit of a freaky time. That sounds kind of odd. Yeah, it's crazy. Have a freaky time, yeah, on Thanksgiving when you're stuffed full of turkey.
Ooh,
get stuffed. Anyway, moving on. From this past week of movies that me and Corey were able to watch, I was able to finally catch up on the Piano Lesson, directed by Malcolm Washington. That is a straight to Netflix release. Actually, it did have a limited theatrical release. Directed by Malcolm Washington, son of Denzel, brother of John David Washington. The film stars Samuel L. Jackson, John David Washington, Danielle Deadwyler, and Michael Potts. The synopsis: the story follows the lives of the Charles family as they deal with themes of family legacy and more in deciding what to do with an heirloom, the family piano. Very emotional film. It is based on the August Wilson play, The Piano Lesson, and it kind of is right in line with what I've seen of the more recent August Wilson adaptations to film, kind of like the movie Fences, directed by Denzel Washington, where I really like that movie. You can feel that it's a play. You can feel like the stage of it, where it's a lot of dialogue and it's a lot of character drama. There's not a lot of action to it necessarily. Takes place
all on their back, like fence
yard.
Yeah,
for Fences. And in this film, it takes place majority in the Charles family's home. And it's these characters just kind of going at it, trying to decide whether they should sell the piano and kind of get like a good amount of money off of it because of kind of the legacy that this piano has, or do they keep it because it is so intertwined with how their family has come up and how their family's history. It's a very great film. Everyone gives an amazing performance, specifically Danielle Deadwyler. I hope she gets a nomination for this film. She is going at like up to bat against Samuel Jackson regularly and John David Washington, and there is no scene that she's in where she is not killing it and absolutely owning it. She is a scene stealer. She has a very good kind of control in her scenes. She's the one that John David Washington kind of plays the protagonist, I'd say, arguing that we should sell this piano, and there's a lot of just heartbreak and like, no, from Danielle Deadwyler saying like, no, this is our family's, this means something to us, and I need to prove to you what this means to us. So great performances all around. Also, Michael Potts plays a character I believe referred to as Whining Boy, and he is a scene stealer. I hope he, if anything, could get a supporting nomination. He is amazing in this film and very funny. Sometimes very sad, but mostly very funny character. I would happily recommend it to. Actually, I'd recommend it to people if you're into like the stage to film adaptation type. It's not going to be a film for everyone because, like I said, it is a 2-hour plus film based around characters talking. And if that doesn't work for you or sell you, which it wouldn't sell any of my relatives, then maybe don't watch it. You might not like it. But if it's something where you think you can really run with these characters and sit with the dilemmas that these characters are facing and handle kind of just back and forth dialogue, I think it's a great watch. I really enjoyed it. Corey, did you anticipate this film, The Piano Lesson? Are you excited to see it? Are you going to try and catch it anytime soon?
Yeah, I'm going to take a week where I watch through a bunch of the like Netflix kind of awards season movies. So this will definitely be one of them. I've heard Danielle Deadwyler getting some buzz for supporting actress like you talked about. Yeah, so I'm excited to check that one out. Another movie that both of us watched this week that came out earlier this year is My Old Ass, which is directed by Megan Park, who her first movie was The Fallout, or her previous movie, I should say, is The Fallout, which I haven't seen, but heard good things about. This movie stars Maisie Stella, who plays a teenager who gets high on shrooms with her friends, which is just a fun start to a movie. And in the process of doing that, she meets her future 39-year-old self, played by Aubrey Plaza, always brilliant and having a great year, Aubrey Plaza.
Just tearing it up.
Yeah, and really it's a movie just about her having conversations with her older self and the advice that she gets from her, the warnings that she gets. And this movie really surprised me. I've heard people that I know pretty well saying that they really like this movie, so I knew I had to check it out. And this movie like really hit me in a lot of scenes that I didn't expect. Like, I thought this was going to be more like a straight comedy when I watched it, of like hijinks of meeting your older self, but it was really heartwarming. And there's a few scenes that I just wanted to bring up in this movie. I know one of them you really like too, was when Maisie Stella, who plays a character named Elliot, the main girl in the movie, she meets this guy named Chad, played by Percy Hines White, who I wasn't too familiar with, but he was really good in the movie. And they're in a boat on one scene, and he's talking about how like you kind of take for granted when you're younger and you're hanging out with your friends in the neighborhood, you're riding around on your bikes, you're playing games, and then you all go in for the night not realizing that that was the last time you all hung out together. And that is something that I've thought about just in recent years, of like growing up and getting into like mid-20s now, which is weird to say, but just like the idea of not knowing when your last time of doing things was really sad. And it brought up this this question that I had that I kind of wanted to ask you too. Like, if you had the opportunity to like know when the last time you were going to hang out with like your group of friends in that situation, would you want to know, or would you not want to know and just kind of enjoy it as it was?
I think if just knowing me personally, I would get too in my head about it. So I think I would need to not know. I would need to just kind of let it have its moment and be the random day where it ends, and I just didn't see it coming, but it ends. And I think that's a dilemma that this character Elliot faces throughout the film of, hey, you know this thing's gonna happen, or you might know what's gonna happen, but do you choose to run away from it, or do you continue to just live your life normally and just enjoy what you have until it is no longer? And I'm trying to tiptoe around kind of one of the more spoiler aspects, just because it's the one spoiler of this film, and I feel like not a lot of people saw this movie, so I kind of want to save that for you if you haven't. This movie, rocked me. I watched it early on a Wednesday morning, so I took the day off from work leading into Thanksgiving, and I was like, I need to catch up on some films, so I watched My Old Ass, and it rocked me. I'm not a big coming of age story person. I feel like we've gotten kind of inundated with those recently. Though that and like musical biopics are kind of the two genres that kind of wear on me a little bit quicker. And then watching this, I kind of anticipated it to be a little bit more of a comedy, kind of like what you said. And then there's some very heavy scenes, or an aspect of the film that really connected with me is it's Elliot kind of having her final hurrah, her last summer before she goes off to college. And she finds out, this is a minor reveal. It's nothing too big, or it's not going to change the way you really watch the movie. But she finds out that her family is selling their cranberry farm, or their home. And she has a scene where she's like, I'm sad that I'm leaving, but also it was once like I'm excited to leave and go live out in the world, but I had that feeling knowing that I had this still here for me when I came back. And now she's like, well, now I'm leaving and I don't have my home anymore to like kind of come back to. And that hit home with me, because as soon as I went off to college, my mom's like, yeah, we're selling our family home, like our childhood home. And I was like, fuck. And watching this, I was like, yeah, it's a rough feeling because not only are you finally your first like outing of being your own person, and you're going to college and you're gonna find out a lot, and you kind of hope you have that sense of home still in your back pocket as like a just in case, just to kind of support you in a way. And when that's pulled out from under you a little bit, it's dizzying, and it's like, well, shit, I'm aimless, and I know I need to go to do this thing. I need to go to college, or I need to go do my next step that's more for me and develop myself as an adult. But it's like, it's harder to do that when you don't have that sense of home. So when that plot point came up where they're selling the childhood farm or the cranberry farm, I was like, fuck, are you serious right now? Like, you're really just gonna drive this dagger in a twist right now with me? But yeah.
I think on the flip side of that, and why this movie works so well, is that it really does focus on the character of Elliot and her coming of age, like you said, going off to college. But there's also another scene with her and her mom just like sitting on their porch, and it's the flip side of that, where it's the parents' perspective of this very big moment. And her mom's like, yeah, when you were a baby, I used to have to rock you, and I couldn't put you in your crib to go to sleep. I just had to stay with you all night. Mm-hmm. And she's like, one night you decided that you just wanted to be in your crib and you didn't need me anymore to go to sleep.
You just said crib.
Yeah, and then she's like, this is, how it is now. Like, I'm proud of you for going off to college, but like, you don't need me as much as you once did. Mm-hmm. And that's such a like heartbreaking thing, but also like a very sweet thing. And like, I know we both have really strong relationships with our moms, so just like thinking about that too, and like how, they were probably going through a version of that where they're like, we're so happy for you that you're doing this next thing, but like,
this is hard for us.
Yeah, like, you're not going to be around anymore. We're not going to have to like help you with stuff. So just so many different layers to this movie, and I think it does like transcend other coming of age movies just because it has the fun twist of like, this is your future self, and that's already a cool concept. But it has so many really heart-wrenching scenes. Aubrey Plaza has a scene towards the end of the movie that just had me tearing up. Yeah, I won't spoil it, but it is so heartbreaking. It's a very subtle performance too, and she's really not in the movie all that much.
No, and I love that. I love how little this film uses her, because when she's there, you feel her presence, because it's a lot of, she takes Elliot, played by Maisie Stella, when her younger version takes shrooms, and then Aubrey Plaza shows up as her older version, or older self, and is saying like, kind of like, yeah, is mom still doing this? Like, how are your brothers? Like, all this stuff. And Maisie Stella's younger Elliot's like, well, tell me about like the stock market. Who should I invest in? Like, all these things. Like, and she's like, no, like, you need to live your life and figure this out. And I think with that main moment where they're kind of having that time around the bonfire, you get Aubrey Plaza maybe in 1 to 2 more scenes throughout the rest of the film. And that first fire pit scene happens in the first maybe 20 minutes. And then the rest of this, I think 90 to 100 minute runtime is just them kind of, or her feeling out like, shit, what do I do? Like, I met my older self, and she's texting her older self like, hey, how do I handle this? What do I do with this? And I think it's a really cool cautionary tale. But I think the way that they use Aubrey Plaza's character is a good way of being like, you know what? Like, yes, I am your older self, but I can't be too involved in this. Like, you need to make your own decisions. You need to make your own mistakes. Like, I won't tell you too much. Like, you need to just go out and figure this shit out for yourself. But it hit me, and I think that this is a good way, that scene specifically you're talking about between her and her mom, it's a good coming of age story for people, I think, our age, but also you get those scenes with like the adults in the family being like, you know what, like, this hurts for us, and like we're moving on from our childhood farm or our cranberry farm, and it's like, yeah, there's next steps that are always going to be scary, and it's you're never really out of like that coming of age. You're still like moving into something else that's new and scary. So I think that this film, more so than most coming of age stories, really hit me. I remember after Boyhood came out in 2018, I was like, well, yeah, this is the coming of age story. This is the coming of age movie.
I think it was like 2013 or something.
Was it 2013? I am so fucked on years. No, it probably was 2013.
Around there.
Yeah, and didn't Patricia Arquette win for Best Supporting Actress that year? Or?
Yeah, 2014.
Holy fuck. I said 2018. I thought, yeah, for a minute. Shit. But anyway, when that movie came out, regardless of the year, which is crazy that movie's 11 years old. Holy fuck. Oh, wow. But when that movie came out, I was like, all right, they can stop with this genre. They've peaked. And now My Old Ass, which I feel like hasn't gotten as much recognition as Boyhood did, I feel like that this film for me is kind of what I'm gonna look to as being like, no, this is my coming of age movie. And there's others in the genre, but like this one really hit me in ways that I didn't anticipate.
It also, one last thing on it, it does something really smart of not feeling like it has to explain how her older self is there. Like, that's not the point of this movie. That's the, like, catalyst for this movie, but it's just like, yeah, she's here.
Yeah.
And she can talk to her on the phone, and that's it. Like, we don't need a breakdown. We don't need an explanation.
I don't need to know the science of it or how it happens.
I don't need, like, a time travel type thing where it's like, well, how does what she tells her affect how we don't need that. It doesn't matter. Like, that's not the point of this movie. It's about the characters, and that's just a very fun way to get these two versions of herself together.
Yeah, I think it was fantastic. And Percy Hines White, who played Chad, I don't really recognize. He has a recognizable face to me, but I can't name a single movie or role that I remember seeing him in. But he was great. Him and Maisie Stella, who I also don't think I've really seen much of Maisie Stella, but they both gave knockout performances. And yeah, Aubrey Plaza is just on a tear this year. So yeah, I can't recommend my old ass enough. This movie is fantastic. Back to that Wednesday before Thanksgiving where I was like, you know what, I need to sit down and catch up on some movies I missed out on this year. I went back and watched the Kevin Smith film, The 4:30 movie. Kevin Smith, kind of famous for the Clerks franchise, Chasing Amy, Mallrats. If you're one of the cool kids that likes Kevin Smith, you really like Tusk. I love Tusk. That movie's awesome. Anyways, the 4:30 movie stars Austin, I think it's Zadger, which I've only seen him in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. He had a small role in that. And then Sienna Agudong. The synopsis is just a group of teens in the 1980s spend the day theater hopping, which, Corey, I know you haven't seen this, so I'm going to try and express my disappointment in a very mild way about this film, because I want you to see it and give me your take. I was really excited for this movie, as not being the biggest Kevin Smith fan in the world, but the premise of this is just like, oh, these group of kids just theater hopping. I'm like, oh, that's shit I would do, and like it's set in the 80s. I'm like, this feels like a very good, very fun, almost coming of age, but just like slice of life, like these kids just going and seeing movies, and it was so just fine. Just none of the performances were really like that big of like, none of them really hit home with me. Sienna Agudong has kind of, she steals most of the scenes that she's in. She's very charismatic and very bright in the movie, and her character is kind of, that is the person Austin Zadjar is just like bent after. Like, he's like, that is the woman I need to be with, and like the whole movie is following him getting ready for this date that he has with her later in the evening. And I don't know, it felt listless. The performances, like I said, were kind of, none of them were bad, but aside from Sienna, none of them were like spectacular. It wasn't funny. The performances by, I mean, Justin Long has a little bit of a small cameo in it, which I actually really appreciated, but like still his performance wasn't great. It was more just me being like, holy fuck, that's Justin Long. I love Justin Long. But yeah, it was a bit of a letdown. Happy I watched it. My wife actually watched it with me, and she was like, oh, this movie's like, this is kind of good. And I'm like, well, all right, it's good to have opinions. I don't agree with you, but like, you know what? I'm happy that you're enjoying it more than I am. Corey, is this movie at all on your radar? Are you at all interested in watching it? What is your plan with it?
You know, I actually haven't seen a ton of Kevin Smith movies. That's one director that I'm kind of lacking on, just seeing some of his more classic movies. So this one I will eventually check out, but it's not at the top of my watch list right now. And after you've seen it now, I'm kind of more so like, if I catch it someday, then cool. But yeah, not something that I'm just super eager to watch right now, but down the road I may check it out.
The film does follow kind of a pretty decent trio, because it's these three guys, and they're going theater hopping, played by Austin Zadger, Reed Northrup, and Nicholas Cirillo. They're all very likable in the film. They all do a good job. Their chemistry is pretty good. But again, none of the performances really stood out, except I did almost forget Sam Richardson's in this film, which I love Sam Richardson. He's in the film Werewolves Within. He is just so infinitely likable to me. And when I saw him in this movie, which is in like a weirder role and almost an unneeded role in the film for me, I very much enjoyed any time that he was on screen, just because I'm a big Sam Richardson fan, and I think that he should be in any movie, every movie, all at once, as much as possible. Big fan of him. But yeah, I would recommend giving it a watch to Corey, just because I feel like there's some overlap. in terms of like what we're interested in, and like I think we kind of like that idea of like it's just like these teenagers going to see a movie. Like what's more pure and like perfect than that? But I'm more interested to see your reaction to it, and I don't really think you're going to disagree much with kind of how I view it, but I do want you to kind of sit down and watch it if you get the chance. There are some Kevin Smith movies I feel like you should catch up on, but this one being lower on the list. But if you make it to this one, I do want to hear what you think of it.
I do really like Zach and Miri Make a Porno. I think that movie's a lot of fun.
That movie always came on like Comedy Central at like 11 p.m. and I was like, well, porn's in the name. What am I gonna really see? And also, it's on cable television, so I'm like, it's I'm not gonna see much. But I was always really excited by the concept, and I love Seth Rogen, so I was like, all right, I forget that he made that movie. So yeah,
I don't know, it's kind of a fun one. So a movie that I caught up on this week that Mason talked about last week is A Real Pain. Which, like we said last week, directed by Jesse Eisenberg, also stars him and Kieran Culkin. It's two cousins going on a tour in Poland, looking at family history, a lot of World War II kind of
iconography.
Yeah, iconography, some Holocaust stuff that they go to there. I really like this movie. This is a movie that's right up my alley. I love just kind of two characters, more or less, just dialogue heavy, and really just getting to know these characters. I think Kieran Culkin will get a supporting actor nom. He's really great. He's, of the two, the more interesting one. I think we kind of talked about last week. And he is very like impulsive and says things at the wrong time, but he's also very thoughtful too. Like there's times in this movie when somebody else will be talking and Jesse Eisenberg's trying to talk to Kieran Culkin, and Kieran Culkin's like, hey, like, stop, they're talking, they're trying to do something right now. So he's thoughtful in a weird way, but he also just says things that you're like,
Yeah, he just doesn't have much of a filter, so everything is just kind of abrasive, even though he's like saying like nice things or meaning well, and it's just like words at the wrong time, or cutting people off in a weird way, or being almost too affectionate to people at times too.
Yeah, so he's great in the movie. Jesse Eisenberg also really good. I feel like he's getting overlooked a little bit because there's a lot of great scenes with him, especially one at a dinner scene, which I really liked. He just kind of vents to these group of people on this tour that they're on, and they're all just kind of reacting to him like, oh, this is a lot of information you're dumping on us right now.
Yeah.
But it's great. And yeah, it's there's another just small moment too where they're on this tour and there's a tour guide, and Kieran Culkin is like kind of bashing into him. He's like, hey man, like, can you stop giving us the facts and figures about this? Like, these were real people. I think they were at like a cemetery at the time, and he's like, can you just like talk about them like they're real people and not like their statistics and data? And again, that's one of those examples of him being like saying a weird thing, kind of everyone's uncomfortable. But then towards the end of the movie, the tour guide is like, thank you for saying that, because nobody's ever actually given me criticism or like given me feedback on this. Everyone's just accepted it. So like he made a difference there, even though it wasn't like maybe the right way to go about it. So it was just little scenes like that I really appreciated in this movie. I think my only real issue, which isn't really that big of an issue for me, but the ending I thought was a little unfulfilling. I think it ended and I was fine with where it was, but I wanted just a little bit more, or maybe like one more scene to kind of hammer home the emotions in this movie. But overall, really enjoyed it, and I really hope that it gets some awards love.
Yeah, I'm happy that you were able to catch up on that, because talking about it the past week, I really was a big fan of this movie. The performances are great. I think Jesse Eisenberg is a great foil to Kieran Culkin's, his more kind of eccentric and outward performance, whereas Jesse Eisenberg has to be the straight man in a lot of scenes. But yeah, their chemistry on screen is palpable, and they feel like cousins. They feel like they were like at once very close and like almost like tied at the hip, but now they're kind of strayed, and there's some untalked about conflict between them. But I don't know. I think that the film it handles it well. I really like the ending. I kind of thought it hit me enough at that point, and where they leave the characters off. I was like, wow, yeah, it's like almost like it's destined to happen again. This kind of merry-go-round of emotions and stuff. Anyway, moving on from a great movie that everyone should go see, which is underseen. We're going to talk about a movie that is slightly underseen, but for good reason. I got to see Red One, which is a film I was hoping to miss out on this holiday season, directed by Jake Kasdan, who is a phenomenal film director. He made the most recent Jumanji films, which both were way better than they had any right to be. Also, one of my favorite comedies ever made. One of the funniest movies, Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, which we've already talked about, I feel like, briefly on this podcast. Red One, like I said, directed by Jake Kasdan, stars Dwayne Johnson, Chris Evans, J.K. Simmons, Bonnie Hunt, which actually made me kind of happy to see her in a movie again. Can't really remember her since Cheaper by the Dozen, but and Kiernan Shipka. Synopsis is, after Santa Claus is kidnapped, the North Pole's head of security must team up with the world's most infamous bounty hunter, and in a globetrotting, action-packed mission to guess what? To fucking save Christmas, because every movie with Santa Claus in it has to be about saving Christmas, because apparently Saint Nick can't fucking handle it every year. Anyway, I'm like kind of blown up already about this movie. I have like pretty mild reaction to this movie. It was boring. It's 2 hours and I think 7 or 9 minutes.
Too long.
Too long. Way too long. And you feel it. And there's, I don't know, it's Chris Evans and Dwayne Johnson just kind of bumbling around, and like they had a couple of ideas, like some of the world building they do with kind of the mythology of Christmas, and even what they do with Krampus and this Christmas witch is kind of cool. But it does feel like AI wrote this. It feels like a Chat GPT script with AI generated sets. Like everything just felt so like listless, charmless, and at times there was like good emotion, but it was also never anything special to this movie. It's like I could watch any Christmas movie and feel the way I'm feeling right now. I don't know. The ball was completely dropped, completely fumbled like Aaron Jones today. But yeah,
he redeemed himself a little bit.
Eventually, yeah. But damn, being a Vikings fan is hard when you have a running back that can't hold on to the damn ball. Anyway, Red One, I didn't want to see this movie, like I said. I was kind of happy to hopefully miss out on it, but I went up north with Allie, my wife, and to see her family for Thanksgiving. And my mother-in-law is maybe the sweetest person to ever walk this earth, and when she wants to go see a movie, you abide, and you go with her, and just you're happy to go with her. She liked the movie a lot more than I did. I tried to, when she would ask me about it coming out of the theater, she's like, do you like it? I was like, yeah, it was fine. Actually, I really didn't, but like, I don't want to say that to you because you're so sweet and you're so happy and excited about it. Like, it's fine. I don't want to like torch your reaction to it. Yeah, wow, fuck. Chris Evans was miscast. Chris Evans is miscast as shit in this movie. He's too likable to play such a dipshit. Also, like, he's not, his character is a deadbeat dad, but he's also supposed to be like this famed bounty hunter that is so good at his job, and you just don't buy into really any of it because it's just Chris Evans. And Kiernan Shipka should not be in this film. She feels horribly miscast. Not that they really give bad performances. The movie just doesn't really, it's not elevated because of them in it. And I feel like there are other actors that could have lent more to these performances or these characters. The film's edited kind of wonky. There is a lot of unfunny jokes, and then they'd hold that joke for a beat, and then for another beat, and you're just watching these characters be like, yeah, we're cooking with some funny dialogue right now, and it's just like cut away. The shit is so unfunny. We're sitting here like waiting for you guys to stop sucking your own dick about this unfunny joke that you just said. I'm really like kind of tearing into this a little bit more than I anticipated. It's completely fine. I wrote a review on it and posted on our Instagram. I gave it a C. Like it's fine, and for being what it is, it's an okay watch. I wouldn't say rush to the theater to see it. I say wait for streaming because this film felt like a straight to streaming piece of shit. Corey, did I sell you on this one? Are you fucking just jazzed and giddy to see Red One?
No, I don't. It's just, yeah, like you said, it just, from the trailers, this looked like an AI-generated movie. This looks like, what's that other, is it Red Notice on Netflix?
Yeah.
That rock movie?
Another Dwayne Johnson Red movie.
It just looks like one of that, and there's so many movies from both this year and just classic movies that I haven't seen that I would rather give my time to than this, what it sounds like, piece of shit. I like Chris Evans, and like, I don't know, he plays a fun dick in Knives Out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you can do that, but other than him, I'm just like, I don't really care.
They're like I said, what they do with the kind of world building and exploring more of the mythology of Christmas is kind of cool. There are some decent scenes. Nick Kroll's in this movie for a scene and a half, maybe, and his performance is over the top in Nick Kroll fashion, and it's funny. But it's also like, all right, well, we had that like contained funny moment, and now we're moving on to shit that I just don't care about. Yeah, I don't know. It kind of, it's too easy of a movie. It's long, and it might partially be due to me sitting in maybe the most uncomfortable theater seats I've ever sat in. Just basically 2 planks that my ass is just flat after, which I'm already flat Stanley to begin with, but damn did that shit hurt. But then the movie wraps up, and I'm just like, you know what, fuck, that movie was so slow. It was 2 hours, but it felt like 3. It never really had me laughing at any point. It's kind of the same generic Christmas bullshit. J.K. Simmons is great as Santa Claus. That's an awesome choice.
I feel like that's
like
yeah.
You go in expecting that when you hear J.K. Simmons as Santa. You're like, oh, perfect, cool, sweet. But he's not utilized enough. Dwayne Johnson does his same typical bullshit. His like eyebrow fucking stoic smolder that he does.
He keeps trying with these movies, man. He keeps.
I don't
know,
understand.
It's like Jungle Cruise and like Rampage.
This
movie
has like a $200 to $250 million budget, which, based on some reports, is partially due to him being kind of an asshat. But like, regardless, you don't see that on screen. None of the shots, none of these scenes take place on an actual set. Like, it all feels like it's in the volume. It all feels like it's a green screen cutout. Like, it doesn't feel like it's something shot on location ever. And it's like, there's a scene on a fucking beach. You guys couldn't go stand on the fucking sand for a second to film this? You guys have like the fucking black line around your entire fucking perimeter of your body showing that you're standing in a different location in a fucking closed set, and you're on fucking sand. And you can't do this once? You can't save the $5 million of trying to generate this bullshit to just go like, hey guys, we have 5 characters in this scene. Let's go out to the fucking sand in LA and fucking film something. Anyway. It's just like stupid. It's cutting corners that only end up making the movie cost more money. It's a waste of time. If you're a kid and you want to watch a Christmas movie and you want to go with your family to a Christmas movie, fine. But I can't make an argument for anything beyond that to get you to go see this movie. It's not worth your time unless you're going to try and catch it on streaming, and you're going to have some spiked eggnog, and you're going to get shit-faced and then yell at a kid and tell him Santa's not real. Like, it's only in that purpose, or only in that viewing circumstance is this okay. But, like, it's watch The Christmas Chronicles, which is already formulaic bullshit with Kurt Russell. But you got Kurt Russell, like, so maybe. Like, there's other bad Christmas movies that are better than this, which is saying a lot, I feel like. Always go watch Jingle All the Way, because that is an amazing movie. One of the last big budget movies made in Minnesota, which not really big budget, but anyway. Red One. Corey, don't see it. I'll maybe see it. Fuck it. Maybe we get drunk and watch it.
That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
I think we mentioned that before. Like, this is a good,
some drinkies and watch it.
Yeah. Well, Allie's mom, if you're listening, sorry Mason ripped that movie to shreds.
Debbie, if you're listening, it was great. Thank you so much. Thank you for having us go to the theater. It was a great time. Thank you, Debbie.
He loved the seats.
Yes. Skip past the beginning part of my rant to the now and just thank you, Debbie.
Yeah, so don't plan on seeing that one in theaters, at least. Now to a movie that cost probably like $150 million less and is a lot better from what it sounds like. And is coming out this week, which is a 10th anniversary re-release. I'm so excited for this one. Yeah. It is Interstellar, obviously directed by Christopher Nolan. I didn't get a chance to see this movie when it came out in theaters in 2014, but this is one of my favorite Christopher Nolan movies. This is also a very important movie for me, just really getting into movies. 2014 and 15, I really started watching a lot of movies. I'd always loved them. But this is the year that I kind of started really keeping track of what was coming out, keeping track of awards stuff. And I remember getting Interstellar from the Red Box, which I loved going to the Red Box. That was high school.
You stop by a McDonald's and you're like, oh, I got a fucking Red Box here?
Yeah.
Sweet.
And it was just I watched so many movies that way because there was one super close to my house, so I'd always stop in, and this was one of them. This movie holds up so well. Mm-hmm. This movie, the visual effects, which it won an Oscar for, look better than most things coming out now. And, like, obviously Christopher Nolan is going to make his movies look as real as possible, even when they're in fucking space. Like, he's going to find a way.
Showing us a black hole that has, like, no, like, concrete, like, this is actually what a black hole is.
Yeah, like, even Miller's Planet, when they're on there and, like, the wave is coming in, like, you think it's a mountain in the background and then it just keeps getting closer and you're like, oh, fuck. This movie is so good. Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, Jessica Chastain. I mean, the cast in this movie is insane.
Every Nolan film has a stacked cast. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But this film is, for me, was like, holy shit! Like, we got heavy hitters. We got heavy hitters in this film. Michael Caine as always. Michael Caine in every fucking Christopher Nolan film. Matthew McConaughey. I wish he would do more Christopher Nolan films. I love Matthew McConaughey, and this was coming off of the Dallas Buyers Club kind of. That time period where we're like, oh shit, like this man can act, and now he's leading up a Christopher Nolan film. You got Jessica Chastain, who's one of my favorite actresses. I love this film. For anyone who hasn't seen this movie, who didn't get to see it in theaters, go see it in theaters. The synopsis, I want to read that in case you, for some reason, somehow didn't hear about this movie when it came out in 2014, or the 10 years that has passed since it being out. And every film bro saying, wow, Christopher Nolan really fucking cooked with that one. But the synopsis is when Earth becomes uninhabitable in the future, and a farmer and ex-NASA pilot, Joseph Cooper, played by McConaughey, is tasked to pilot a spacecraft along with a team of researchers to find a new planet for humans. This film is lights out. Nominated for 5 Oscars, 1 for Best Visual Effects, which I feel like has got to be like a mainstay for Nolan-made films, is the visual effects are insane. This also has maybe a top 5, top 3 best written scores ever. The amount of times I'll be driving on the freeway in Minneapolis, going on like 35W North, and then I'll put on No Time for Caution, and it's like I'm gonna get there in negative time. Like it's so intense. Everything looks so good. There's so many aerial shots, but just shots on the outside of a ship that like shows basically it's almost like a rear view mirror view along the side of a ship that I just love, and I feel like I saw it first in this movie and it's popped up since, but I just always kind of reward that of being like a first and original thing to Interstellar. I love this film. I did see this in theaters. 2014, which we're slowly starting to realize was such a banger of a fucking year for movies because it's the 10-year anniversary for a lot of these awesome movies, but I remember when I saw this movie, I saw it after seeing Big Hero 6. I did a double feature that day. The day before, I saw Equalizer, John Wick, and The Judge. And then the day before that, I saw St. Vincent and Nightcrawler. What the fuck is that?
Hidden every genre.
What the fuck is that? Like, that 2014 was just built different. Like, it was just banger after banger. And ending all of that long viewing weekend that I spent with my mom watching all these movies in theaters. And then I end on Interstellar. I get in the car, and my mom's like, do you like it? I was like, I started crying. I'm like, I fucking loved it. It's insane. And there's some really big emotional beats in the film, especially when Cooper, played by McConaughey, is out in space, and he kind of gets these logs from his kids back home of, like, updating them on the time that's passed. Yeah. And Matthew McConaughey just gives it his all in that scene where it's just him breaking down, watching his kids grow up without him for a long period of time. And they're like, dude, when are you coming home? Like, we need you. And it's just devastating. And that will always be a favorite scene of mine. It's just, this film is such a perfect sci-fi film. But not only that, everything it does so well with sci-fi, it does so well equally with human drama and human emotion. And it's one of my favorite Nolan films. And I feel like a lot of people kind of get down on the ending and like the bookshelves. And
I've never really had an issue with that. I think it works. Yeah. But I'm so excited to go see this movie on an IMAX screen. Mm-hmm. I'm going to just bite the bullet and go to an AMC. Yeah. I hate AMCs.
Wait for 45 minutes before the movie starts.
Yeah, I'll show up just 20 minutes late and still be halfway through the trailers. Yeah. But I cannot wait to watch this movie again, especially in the theater, on that big IMAX screen with that Hans Zimmer score just booming in there. Oh,
and it's a long movie. It's 2 hours and like 40
nearly 3, yeah.
Yeah, it's nearly 3 hours. This movie flies by, and it's never not interesting. It's always interesting. It's always like I don't want to say it's fun, but like there's so much cool shit that you see that you will never see in any other movie. This is the most 2001: A Space Odyssey movie that our generation I think has. And I love it for that, and I'm so excited for you to be able to see it in the big screen. I'm hoping to see it back in the big screen because the screen I did see it on, while it was a big one, it was at our house. Okay.
Woo!
Bring them out! Bring them out! When I saw Interstellar, it was on a big-ish screen. It was at our hometown Buffalo Theater, which is now dormant and non-existent. But now, yeah, I want to see it on the biggest screen I possibly can find, because now you know you're getting something, which you can say that with any Nolan film you're about to go see. But anyway, it is a little bit of a slower release week, at least smaller films, I would say. Moving on from that re-release of a masterpiece, we are getting a film called Nightbitch, which is a wild concept and a wild movie, and I'm actually kind of excited about it. Directed by, is it Mariel Heller?
Mariel Heller, yeah.
Sick, gonna go with that. Director of Can You Ever Forgive Me? A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, which I did not remember that she was the director of, and I actually really enjoy both of those movies. Film stars Amy Adams and Scoot McNairy. The synopsis is: a woman pauses her career to be a stay-at-home mom, but soon her domesticity? What are these notes? Her domestic life takes a surreal turn. You wrote that note, too, and I'm like, that could be an actual word, and I'm just an idiot.
Domesticity?
Oh, hit that one more time.
Domesticity.
Okay.
Not domesticity.
Fuck off. Nightbitch. Her domesticity. Takes a surreal turn. I never have seen that word in my life, and that just shows that I am not a well-read
Blame me for writing words.
An actual word? There's no red line squiggled out below it. It's spelt right.
It's in the IMDb synopsis. I took it right from there.
Well, I'm a fucking idiot, so I can't read. Anyway, I'm excited for this movie.
Turns into a dog or something.
Yeah.
That movie looks sweet. I'm so excited for this movie.
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic.
No, I am.
Oh, okay. I'm actually stoked for it.
Yeah, and Scoot McNairy, who I thought his name was Scott for the longest time. And then I was looking one day at after I saw him in a movie, it says his name was Scoot.
I think it was during Justice League, because I remember you bringing it up like, wait a minute, his fucking name's Scoot? And I'm like, yes, it's Scoot McNairy. Oh.
You can't blame me for it. Who else do you know
because it's
Scoot?
a fucking wild name. Anyway, I'm excited for Nightbitch. The trailers look pretty promising. It looks weird. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the movie Tully from 2019 with Charlize Theron, where it's just a stay-at-home mom and just like the wear and tear that a woman takes while being a stay-at-home mom. Why are you smiling? Why are you laughing again?
He's got the giggles now, man. I'm trying to power through.
Tully is a great movie. Yeah, shut the fuck up. Tully is a great movie, and I'm excited for Nightbitch because I feel like that it. Wow, I'm gonna stutter a fuck ton this episode now that we had that. It feels like a true to form, like, hey, the sacrifices that a woman... Stop fucking laughing. Laughing right now, we look like assholes. Talking about a movie being a woman being a mom.
I'm good now.
Yeah,
last one.
Are you?
Take another drink.
I don't even know where to fucking go now. I'm excited to see
Hopefully
this.
Amy Adams gets nominated for an Oscar.
That she won't win, ever.
She won't win.
She'll never win.
She deserves it, and the fact that she wasn't nominated for Arrival in 2016.
She should have won for that movie.
Yeah. No, all joking aside, all giggliness aside, I actually really am looking forward to this movie.
It's a crazy title, too. When that pulls up, like, you watch the trailer in theaters, and it's a pretty, like, I don't know, I don't want to say it's a pretty formulaic trailer because it is about a woman turning into a dog at night. But then, the title comes up, and it's a Nightbitch, and you just hear, like, scattered, like, like, nervous
older
laughter.
people in the
like,
audience,
what the
like,
fuck is this?
What's going on?
Yeah, but I'm excited. Of the two movies that are kind of new releases this week, that's probably the one I'm actually going to try and go catch up on. But yeah, what's the other film that I am trying to wait to see if I should be seeing this in theaters?
There's a few other releases this week. I just didn't put them on here because I didn't want to talk about them. There's one called...
I just didn't feel like
There's one called Werewolves with Frank Grillo. I saw the trailer once. And I'm like,
yeah.
I
thought that was like straight to DVD was still a thing. I thought that
this is more than I wanted to talk about it already. So,
all right. Well, I like Frank Grillo, but fuck that movie. Apparently.
Yeah. The only other kind of big release is Y2K, directed by Kyle Mooney, who he co-wrote and starred in Brigsby Bear, which I haven't seen.
I have. Yeah, and it's a weird movie. It's kind of like charming and sweet. But yeah, he hasn't. This is his directorial debut, so it's kind of cool. But Brigsby Bear, I don't know who I'd recommend that to aside from you. It's just a really kind of off the beaten path, almost coming of age story. But anyway, yeah.
This movie stars Jaden Martell, Rachel Zegler, Julian Dennison, and it's about two high school students that decide to crash the last major celebration before New Year's Eve, 1999. But then things get crazier than they ever could have dreamed of when the clock strikes midnight. You and I weren't alive for this. We were born
missed
in
it.
2000, so we didn't get the Y2K craze. I don't know. I saw the trailer a couple times. I don't really even have much to say about it. It just... Nice. Mid-sentence, just burp.
I'm not the one talking. You can talk, I'll burp.
No, all right.
I'm not terribly excited for this movie. So yeah. I'm gonna just hijack whatever the fuck you were saying. I was too busy burping to be listening to you, so I'm just gonna talk. Yeah.
No,
Shut the fuck up.
That's tight. Just being silenced.
You have been stopped. Jaden Martell, he's in the It movies, right? And he's in St. Vincent, right?
I haven't seen St. Vincent.
You haven't seen St. Vincent?
No, I don't know.
Actually, it's from 10 years ago. You maybe try and catch it. Bill Murray gives a decent performance. Rachel Ziegler, I love. She was amazing in West Side Story. She was amazing in everything that she's been in that I have seen. I'm not terribly excited to see her Snow White movie, but fuck it, whatever. Who knows? It'll come out, and I'll probably wait until it comes onto Disney+. Is Julian Dennison... I'm sorry that I just...
Fire Fist.
That's Fire Fist. Okay, I was going to say Hunt for Wilder People and 50 Minutes. Wow, okay. Julian Dennison, I like his performance in Hunt for Wilder People, and as Fire Fist in Deadpool 2, I'm like, wow, you're kind of overstaying your welcome for me. But, I don't know, it's got a pretty decent cast. I'm interested to see the kind of tone of this movie, and it's kind of on display in the trailers where it's like kind of kitschy, hipstery, horror maybe. I don't know. It's very intriguing. I have no idea what the fuck this movie is going to be. I'm moderately excited for it.
Yeah.
Nightbitch, probably just based on our reaction to talking about it earlier, is the one I'm more eagerly anticipating.
But it could be a surprise movie that kind of comes out of nowhere. Who knows?
Yeah. Aside from Y2K, we have it's not another release per se in theaters, but it is a updated release for the Disney Plus show Skeleton Crew. It did move from Tuesday, December 3rd now onto Monday, December 2nd. I'm sure there's reasoning behind it. Didn't look into it. Also don't really care because I'm not the most sold on Skeleton Crew, but I did want to give that a mention as that will be likely a somewhat big show coming to Disney Plus and coming to streaming here. Corey and I think, have already talked about Skeleton Crew a decent amount to where our hype and anticipation is for it.
I think we talked about the trailer a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like if I hear good things, then maybe I'll check into it. I remember I was doing the same thing with Acolyte because I never watched it, and I was just kind of waiting to hear your response to it, and every week you're like, wow, this show is just really trying to be good, and it's not. Or I'm like, maybe next episode, and I'm like, damn, fuck, I would have tapped out already based on how excited you are based on that.
I'm a slave to Star Wars and Marvel, so unfortunately... I'll watch this show, which I hate to say that before I've even seen a frame of it.
Yeah, and
that's not fair to it.
The only thing that I'm not like super thrilled by is the vibe they're going for, like the Goonies. Like I didn't need this in Star Wars, but honestly, maybe this is the next Andor in terms of quality. So I'm willing to check it out. I might wait for a couple of weeks to kind of build up, so I can have like a back catalog to run through and really get a full taste of it, as opposed to waiting week to week for the releases. But anyway, Skeleton Crew debuting on December 2nd, which is tomorrow, believe it or not, for us here recording. Big physical media roundup we got coming up based on movies we've purchased, but also looking at this week of films coming out this upcoming Tuesday. That's part of the episode that I always fucking skip over is what movies are actually coming out that week. We missed it last week, but goddamn it, we cannot miss it this week.
Hush came out on 4K
last week. Came out on
Great movie.
Awesome movie. It's no longer on streaming, so get it on fucking physical media while you still can, because that movie's awesome. Thank you, Mike Flanagan. Thank you, I believe it's Shout Select putting it out, for putting that film out on 4K. It's a great watch. But based on what we've purchased lately, I did actually, just last night, pre-order the Wicked 4K Steelbook. I am super excited for that. I did tell my wife, like, hey, I did pre-order a Steelbook. It was way more than I would actually pay for a current Steelbook, but I want it. And she was like, what is it? And I'm like, it's a movie we both liked. She's like, what is it? And I'm like, it's Wicked. She's like, oh, that's fine. I'm like, okay, sweet. So excited for Wicked. It's weird being married and now having to like talk about our finances to each other and be like, I bought 5 movies. Sorry.
Gotta check in after you do it.
Yeah. I check in after, not before, which is the way I still get them. So, but pre-ordered Wicked 4K Steelbook. Excited to get that when that comes out. I also ordered, now that we've crossed the Thanksgiving barrier and we're now officially, for me, in Christmas season, I did order the Krampus 4K Steelbook to be delivered sometime this week. I'm a big fan of that movie. I love Christmas movies, but I always, whenever there's a horror film based around a holiday, that's the movie I want to watch, like Black Christmas. I want to watch Krampus, Silent Night, Deadly Night, even though that and its sequel are both ass. But yeah, I ordered Krampus on 4K. I already have the Blu-ray release, but I'm kind of also in that era of just like, you know what, I can afford a better version of this, and I want it, so I'm going to get it. But I'm excited by getting those 2 new steelbooks added to my collection here shortly. Corey, what did you pick up?
Yeah, I did a little bit of Black Friday shopping. Went to Walmart and I got Maxine on 4K. It was like $25, which was like a fine enough price. I enjoy that movie, even though it's my least favorite of the trilogy, the X trilogy. Still really happy to have that one. And then the Criterion sale at Barnes & Noble ends tomorrow, I believe. So I got Seven Samurai on 4K. I think earlier this year it came out on 4K and Blu-ray. So I am excited to watch that movie. It's such an important movie, an influential movie to literally any movie you've ever seen.
There's something
Seven
from
Samurai.
Seven Samurai.
Yeah, so I'm excited to finally sit down and watch that all the way through in great quality. But definitely take advantage of that sale if you have never bought a Criterion before, or if you do, go take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's one of our favorite kind of releasing platforms is that Criterion Collection, just because they put a lot of care into their packaging, but also in the release itself, it's the best transfer you can get of either of of any version of the film. And they usually stockpile a bunch of essays based on the making of the film or the impact of the film, and it's always just it's the best way to get a well-rounded image of what this film means, as opposed to the quality of the film. Moving on, we do have a big release week coming out December 3rd, this upcoming Tuesday. We have some of our favorite, well, at least for me, some of my favorite movies from this year. Alien Romulus comes out on Blu-ray and 4K. The Wild Robot, Blu-ray and 4K. We also get Mandalorian Season 3. I believe all these steelbooks for the Disney Plus, you informed me, are now only coming out on 4K.
Yes, no more Blu-rays.
Which is kind of scary.
It's a bummer.
Mandalorian Season 3, like I mentioned. Ahsoka, Loki Season 2, Hawkeye. And then we are also getting a Galaxy Quest 4K and a Shaun of the Dead 4K. I'm stoked. This is a big week. It's hard because we're getting into that Christmas season. It's like, when do I stop buying shit for myself? Because like holidays are coming up, but like I'm not going to wait on Alien Romulus because I love that movie so much. I was blown away by it. And I'm really excited to own The Wild Robot because that is maybe still my favorite animated film of the year. Corey, where are you at with this entire list? Because I can already guess that you're going to be buying potentially at some point most of these listed films.
Yes, Alien Romulus for sure. I love that movie. Wild Robot, I'll definitely get at some point. But those 4 Disney Steelbooks, I will go out on Tuesday morning as soon as they come out, just because I need to have those. Yeah. I like all 4. Well, Mandalorian Season 3 is okay.
It's the most inconsistent of those 3 seasons, but it's still at worst, it's like good.
The ending few episodes they're fine.
They help.
Ahsoka, I really like. Loki Season 2, I think Loki is the best MCU show. And one of the better things
I agree with you.
Post Endgame. And then Hawkeye I really enjoyed. Really fun holiday show. I love getting more Jeremy Renner as Clint Barton, so I'm excited to check that out. And then Shaun of the Dead. I really like that movie, and I don't have it, so if I find that 4K anywhere, I will definitely pick that up.
Hawkeye, I actually have not finished still to this day. I think I'm on episode 4.5. I stopped mid-episode one of these times, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not. It just didn't keep my attention. With it being based kind of around Christmas and the holiday season, is it kind of a rewatch for you that you think you'd entertain, or is it something just like, all right, I'm going to get it on the shelf, and I'll watch it at some point, but is it more of like, all right, Christmas time to watch Hawkeye?
I think it could be a yearly rewatch, especially since it's not that many episodes, so I just remember when it came out. I think it was around like Thanksgiving time or like in December, so it was just kind of nostalgic for me watching it then, and it's just a very easy watch, but still some good character work in there too. So moving on to movie news this week, nothing too big, but we got Moana 2 opening up just gangbusters. Looks like over its 5-day holiday debut, so that's from the Wednesday to Sunday. Tracking between $215 to $220 million, which is insane. That would break Super Mario Brothers' 5-day opening record. Looks like it's going to have the biggest Black Friday ever. I think maybe the biggest Thanksgiving day ever, too. So this movie's just doing insane numbers. Good to see. Neither of us saw it this week, but I do plan on seeing it.
I plan on seeing it. It's wild not going to see this movie, because every time I did look at tickets throughout last week of, all right, well, Allie, let's go to a showing of it. Let's try and catch it. And every theater was packed. And it's like, wow, shit, if we wanted to go see this movie, we're not going to sit by each other, because it's just like one seat over here and then one seat at the very front corner, and it's just like scattered. Which I didn't feel that going into it, but it makes sense to me because like I said last week, Moana 1 was one of the biggest streaming films on Disney Plus for the past, 6 years. So I'm not surprised at its turnout and the money it's making. I'm happy and thrilled for the money it's making, even though it's Disney, and Disney tends to piss me off a little bit. But whenever the theaters can have an influx of just people coming to buy concessions and buying tickets and watching movies, that tends to make me a little bit happier. And it's crazy to see some of these numbers that they're tracking for Moana 2, and potentially beating out Frozen 2's Black Friday record is another crazy statistic there. Moving on from one Disney property to another, Lilo and Stitch, which for some reason, like every other Disney property is having a live action film, their teaser trailer dropped this week, which was, I believe I saw it. I saw the smallest.
It's 15 seconds.
Yeah, okay, then I did see it. It was just the shortest tease of basically just seeing Stitch.
In the sand, I think.
In the sand, around
shit.
some fucking sandcastles potentially. And I don't know. The animated Lilo and Stitch is one of Allie's, my wife's, favorite movies of all time. She loves that movie. She still, as an adult, has a stuffed Stitch pillow that she sleeps with. I feel like I shouldn't have said that. Anyways, but she watched this trailer because it came on, and she watched it with me, and she's like, oh. And she's a huge fan, and she's like, oh, I don't like the way he looks. I don't know. Not to say that the movie can't be good because Stitch might not look the best right now in these teaser trailers, but it's a movie I don't need. I love the animated. If I wanted to watch Lilo and Stitch, I would watch the animated. I feel the same way about Mufasa coming up, where I'm like, I don't fucking need this movie. I don't need these live-action adaptations.
Lilo and Stitch is one that doesn't need a live-action remake. There's some that, like the Jungle Book, I think improved upon in the live-action.
Jungle Book was surprising to me. That was when they made that movie. I was like, okay, fine. I'm at least gonna potentially see these in theaters now, because I saw that movie and I was blown away. You got Christopher Walken in that fucking movie singing.
Great, Big Ape.
Big Ape, was he King Louis or whatever?
I think so. Yeah.
That movie kind of blew me away. So I'm willing to give these Disney live-action adaptations the benefit of the doubt, regardless of how they look. Because, like I said, I'm not really sold on it. My wife isn't sold on it. But, I don't know, we'll probably end up seeing it because it's Lilo and Stitch. Yeah. It's the thing of, Disney knows that they got you. Because they're like, it's a property a lot of you guys love. But we're going to do something different that is wholly unnecessary, but you're probably still going to see it because it's a property you love. So it's like, fucking damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably see it, but I'm a slave to just seeing things. Then we got a little bit of casting news just to wrap up the movie news for the week. Barry Keoghan is eyed to play Ringo Starr. Ringo. In Sam Mendes's Beatles 4-part biopic, which I love the Beatles. They are my favorite band of all time. And I think Barry Keoghan's got the nose to play Ringo Starr, so that's cool. I don't know if you
put it like that. Yeah,
I don't know if they've casted any other Beatles yet.
There's been a lot of speculation. I was trying to look into this a little bit earlier today, and I couldn't find any confirmed casting except for I think Barry Keoghan being the first. Which it's crazy that you're going to cast Ringo Starr of the Beatles. That's the first one you went with. You didn't want to cast Paul McCartney.
Maybe it's the easiest one to get out of the way.
Yeah,
here's the drummer. He's gonna write Octopus's Garden, which I love that song. I think it's sweet.
Barry, and Barry is a great actor. I love him in everything I've seen him in. But god damn it, I hate film or music biopics. I can't stand them. I'm so tired of this genre. It's all the fucking same. I don't really know much about the Beatles story, and I'm a big Beatles fan. Fuck you, I'm not watching 4 movies about them. Fuck you, Sam Mendes. Go back and make a good James Bond movie, or make another fucking World War II movie. Make something better than a 4-part film biopic about the fucking Beatles.
What if all 4 of them get nominated for Best Picture?
I will be pissed. Unless they're good, and I'll watch them if they and if they're good and they deserve the recognition that they might eventually get, then fine, I'll watch them. But I'm so tired. Fuck Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't need. There's Walk the Line, which is good. Then you get Rocket Man, which is fun. Everything between those, fucking die. I don't give a shit. I don't need a movie about the Doors. I don't need a movie about fucking Motley Crue on Netflix. I don't need fucking anything, okay? You can make... Scorsese keeps saying, well, I'm going to make my Frank Sinatra biopic, which Frank Sinatra is my favorite singer of all time. I love him. Fuck you, I'm not watching that movie. I don't want that shit. I don't need to see the ascent and then the descent, the sad just fall of this famed celebrity, and then somehow they're back on the right track. It's the same fucking shit in every fucking biopic, and I don't need it. I'm sorry. I honestly don't know if I'm just yelling right now, but I feel like I probably am. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. I don't care about the Beatles this much, and I like their music. Fuck you. I don't need a biopic. Stupid. You're gonna make 4 of them? Lick my taint. I don't need it, okay? Anyway. Unless you have anything else to say.
No, I'm good.
Yeah,
mate.
sick. Fuck you. Moving on. Like Corey said, we are just kind of running down some casting updates. And another film that just consistently is adding to its cast, Charlize Theron, now joins Christopher Nolan's new film. She joins the already all-star cast of Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Zendaya, Robert Pattinson, and Lupita Nyong'o. Wow. Maybe one of the most stacked casts in recent history. Maybe one of the most stacked casts of all time. I don't know. I can't wait. It's getting to the point where I'm like, am I going to be distracted when all these people just fucking pop up in this movie? Or is it going to be like Casey Affleck and Oppenheimer where I'm like, oh, wow, you're here. Wow, shit, okay.
I feel like that's what it's going to be.
That's what I'm hoping for. It's insane to have this stacked of a cast filled with Oscar nominees and Oscar winners. And then Tom Holland. And it's just like, what? And Tom Holland's the low point, which like no shade to Tom Holland. I love Tom Holland, but like you're the most like critically at least and accolades wise.
Like your MTV Movie Award.
Yeah. It's like wow, you really grew up from the kiddie table, and now you're trying to sit with the adults of all these Oscar noms and Oscar award winners. It's insane. Yeah. Also, before you say anything, sorry.
Cool.
Shut the fuck up. Anyway, this is something I noticed after re-listening to last week's episode. I say insane so much. I say, wow,
really?
This thing is insane. Wow, this performance is insane. Which, I'm going to try to work that out of my vocabulary, but if you're one of the 5 fans of this show and you listen to us, please turn it into a drinking game. Anytime I say, shit's insane, it's insane, this is insane, just sling it back. And let us know how far you fucking make it into the episode before you're like, yeah, I tapped out. Because I listened back last episode and I was like, holy shit, this dude needs to shut the fuck up. Anyway.
I think I say like a lot, which is a typical filler word.
Yeah.
So maybe I should listen back to see how I could improve, but I don't know. I don't really feel like it.
Aside from that, Nolan. Yeah, Nolan's film.
So now into our last part. The movie Rewind, which we've been covering a lot of 2017 movies and just kind of forgetting how good of a year for movies that was. Covering The Shape of Water, directed by Guillermo del Toro. This movie was nominated for 13 Oscars, which is fucking insane. It won Best Picture, won Best Director, Best Score, and Production Design. And it's got a great cast. Sally Hawkins, Doug Jones, who plays the big fish guy.
Big fish guy.
Octavia Spencer, Michael Shannon, Richard Jenkins. Essentially, it's about, in the 1960s, a janitor at a top-secret research facility forms a relationship with an amphibious creature, otherwise known as Fish Guy, that's being held in captivity. And this is a movie that I remember seeing and just really, really loving, and I get the urge to rewatch this movie a lot, and I don't know, it's one that I think holds up fairly well, too, for, like, Best Picture winners. Some of them are more forgettable than others.
Mm-hmm.
No Man Land. But this one is great. Alexander Desplat's score is incredible in this movie. And I love the time period, too. The 60s is so great. And I really love this one.
Yeah. I don't know if I would say this is my favorite Guillermo del Toro film, but I'm so happy to see, like, when he got nominated, I was elated. And when he won, I fucking almost fell out of my seat. I was so happy to see him win. I love his films, whether it's the Hellboy films, whether it's Pan's Labyrinth, The Devil's Backbone, which is actually my favorite of his. And even Crimson Peak is a little bit slept on. It's not bad. I was so happy to see him win for this film, and like I said, I don't think it's his best work, but it is of the ones that ever were nominated. It makes sense for him to win for this film. It's a love letter to filmmaking. It's a love letter to the era. I think Michael Shannon gives an insane performance. There it is, insane. Gives an amazing performance in this film as just such a fucking scary scumbag. And Richard Jenkins is just always on a tear in films. He was great in this film. Sally Hawkins and Octavia Spencer have a really cute dynamic as co-workers at this facility as both being janitors. I was blown away. The time period is handled so well. Is it Michael Stuhlbarg?
Stuhlbarg. He was on a tear this year.
2017. He fucking cooked.
This, Call Me by Your Name, and The Post. 3 movies nominated for Best Picture.
And he was in all of them.
and just a standout in all three of them.
Yeah,
too.
I forgot that he was in this film too, but it's such a complete movie, and I think handles the time period so well. The effects look awesome. I remember when Doug Jones, or when you see the Fishman, and I was like, isn't that just Abe from Hellboy? Which, yes, it's played by Doug Jones, but I'm also like, every time I see this fish from Shape of Water, I always think Abe from Hellboy, the blue creature on their team, and I'm like, wow, that's a little distracting, but I don't really remember any negatives to this film for me, and it's like what you said, it's a film that I always like think about, like, shit, I should just sit down and rewatch it. The score is so fantastical, and it feels like such a love story, and I love the fantastical elements, especially with how the film wraps up. 2017 was a gangbusters year, and we keep incidentally bringing up a movie rewind from 2017 without trying to. We had Shape of Water and Christmas Vacation, and then we chose Shape of Water, and we're like, fuck, well, that came out in 2017, like every other movie we've really talked about.
This movie also got released on 4K last week.
Yep, last week.
We forgot to mention that. So, yeah, great movie. Definitely check it out. It's more than just the fish fucking movie.
Yeah, everyone kind of just like boils it down to that, and I always hate that, especially in film classes. They're like, oh, Shape of Water, like, oh, the fish sex movie. I'm like,
it's great.
It's a very, very well done movie, and it won Best Picture for a very good reason. And it's not a forgettable Best Picture win like Nomadland or like Green Book. Fuck that movie too. Anyways, thank you for putting up with us. Thank you for sitting with us and having some drinks for our 5th episode of Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. Be sure to follow us on Instagram for more in-depth movie reviews and news, and subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. In the world of film, it's not just about what happens on the screen, but also about who's sitting next to you in the theater. So from Corey and I, at Slate Night, that's a wrap.
See ya.